Tyson Chartier of Top Game Management is back, and he has a monster of a man that's getting ready to step into the cage this weekend and face Gian Villante. And, of course, I'm talking about the crochet boss, Maurice Green. Tyson, how excited are you for this fight? This is a good one.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is Maurice's been training hard for this fight. He had some other fights that he had scheduled. He's going to fight Rohskopf for a little bit, and that fell through. And then so now he's got a good turnaround against Volante. Volante's been around forever. He's got good training partners. He's always in exciting fights. He kind of is in slugfest, gets tired, and then the fans love it. So, I think it's a good opportunity for Maurice to welcome him to the heavyweight division and kind of put a stamp on the fact that Maurice is here to stay, and go out there and get a good W against a good name.
Yeah, and Volante coming up from light heavyweight. I mean, he's a big guy anyways, but Maurice is a legit heavyweight. He's a monster, as I alluded to earlier. How much of a size difference will there be in this fight, and do you think that's going to play into Maurice's hands?
I think Maurice is going to have a big length and height advantage, but I told Maurice when we got the fight, I go, listen, don't be surprised if he shows up to weigh-ins heavier than you, because he's weighed in for grappling match. It was always a story when he was a 205er that he walks around at 240 plus and cuts down to 205. So I was probably sucking a lot out of him. And then, he's done some grappling tournaments and stuff that he weighed in at 240. So I told him, listen, don't get discouraged. You kind of had that mindset, oh, he's coming up from light heavyweight, we're going to be way bigger. But yeah, you're going to be taller, you're going to have a longer reach, but he might outweigh you. Maurice might come in at, 240 and he comes in at 243 or 245 or something. So, I don't think we're going to have like a crazy weight advantage or anything like that. But I think we're just used to fighting those bigger heavyweights. His main training partner was Juan Adams for this fight, who, walks at, 300 pounds. So, there's going to be, from a size standpoint, yeah, he's going to be training with much bigger guys than Gian Villante. And, Gian Villante is not used to fighting at heavyweight. So it'll be interesting to see how he carries up.
How do you think this move to JacksonWink is going to benefit Greene here moving forward? I mean, obviously one of the best camps in the world, and they're loaded with big guys at heavyweight and light heavyweight. How do you feel like he's going to progress here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. Maurice has never really had a ton of heavyweights to train with. When he was at training just in Minnesota under Brock, we didn't have a lot of heavyweights there for him to move around with. And but he was still learning. We got to 3-0 with him just training at Brock school with no other heavyweights. And then he went out to Factory X for a little while, and he has a good structure there. And instilled some discipline in Maurice, and he had a good routine. But we were just lacking the big bodies and the actual heavyweights to work with. And I think when you're fighting guys that weigh 250 pounds, you can't replicate that by training with guys that weigh 200 or 210 or something like that. You need to kind of get that feel of like, oh my God, this is a lot of weight on me. And I think that's been the blessing that he's had at Jackson, since he's training in these pods with all other heavyweights that are high level. Like I said, Juan Adams, he's been training with a bunch for this fight, and that guy's a beast. So he not only that, you get the good training partners, you get the good schedule, but he's actually gotten to work a lot with Coach John and Coach Jackson. One-on-ones every week, and they put a lot of time and effort into them. And I've had some good conversations with those guys about, Maurice's progression and, where we want him to be and what they expect out of him. And obviously he didn't have a lot of time for this camp, maybe about a month to train with them. But, we're excited about the future holds for him at Jackson's. And then they're excited about what they can do with him. So I think it's there's a lot of mutually beneficial relationship. There's some good synergy there. And I hope we can just get through this fight, get the win, and then build off of that moving forward.
I'm assuming, since you're going to be going to Fight Island and cornering Calvin, obviously, that you're not going to be making this trip to Vegas for Maurice, or am I wrong in assuming there?
No, so I won't be going to Vegas. Originally, it was going to be me, Brock, and his buddy Billa cornering him, and then when we made the switch to Jackson's, we brought in Winkle John and Jackson. So it'll be Greg Jackson, Michael Kojan, and then his buddy Bill that always corners him. It's been like a childhood friend of his. So he's kind of his comfort corner. He kind of hangs out with him on fight week, gets him through the week, and then his coaches will arrive. Coach Jackson, Coach Wink will be there, and they'll guide him to victory.
Well, there's no doubt that you're going to be watching the fight live. So tell me what that's going to look like. Are you going to have Calvin and some of the boys over? Are you going to watch it at the house, or are you just going to be watching it in peace and quiet?
Yeah, so we're training at like 10:30 Saturday night, and the main card starts at I think 8. I think the main card starts at 8, so he'll probably fight around 8:30. So I think the plan is Calvin and Rob might come over before that. We'll watch the fights here and then head over to training. just kind of, I get so nervous when I'm watching these guys fight that it's like, don't talk to me, just leave me alone, let me watch it, because it's like you just know how much is on the line, and you want the best for them and their family, and obviously it's a big impact when they lose because they make half the amount of money, and that's stressful on them. So, his plan is to move up to Albuquerque after this fight with his family. So making that win side of the money, gives him a good buffer to like have a little nest egg to build upon in the move. So.
Yeah, no doubt. I can only imagine how hard it must be for you, especially, to watch these guys that you're very close with get in there and fight. I mean, even just a couple short weekends ago when Rocco was fighting, I was screaming at the TV, and my fiance was like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Relax, calm down, you're a psycho." So it must be very hard to really calm yourself and try to stay even keel during those fights.
It is, man. Like, especially when they're not listening to the coaches, you're like, they're saying the right things. Just do what they say. But, it's stressful, but that's what makes this exciting because you know how much is on the line. So if it wasn't stressful watching them because you know how much was there to lose, it wouldn't be as fun when they win. So you got to take the good with the bad, and that's the sport we're in. So it is stressful because you just want what's best for them, and you just want to see them succeed and be able to provide for their families and keep progressing their careers. So yeah, it's stressful, but honestly, it's like super fun. You look forward to it. Like, I'm excited. It's fight week, and can't wait for Maurice to get in there.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, TopGame has added a couple new exciting members to the family. You got Conor Barry and you got Eddie George. I don't know too much about Eddie George. Tell me a little bit about this kid.
I'd say he's like kind of like a pupil of he's a pupil of Nick Newell. He's like his little. They're like good friends. He corners a lot of the guys with Nick. I got to know him really well last summer when Sumter was on the Contender Series. Eddie came out and cornered with him, and we'd cornered a couple times before that in Bellator with Eddie. But then we spent a week out in Vegas together, me, Eddie, Nick, and Justin, and I got to know him really well, and see him train a little bit out there at the PI. And he's just a really good kid. And then right when the pandemic broke, Bellator 241, we were out there. We shared a room in Connecticut there too. He's just a really good kid. He has the right work ethic. He's like super loyal kid, works hard, like shows up. He's a professional. So I'm super. Just from a character standpoint, I'm really excited about having him on the roster. And then being under Nick, you've seen what Nick's done with Justin Sumter and how he's improved his MMA game. And it's gonna be the same thing with Eddie. He's just gonna keep progressing. He's gonna keep climbing the ladder and keep improving under Nick and his team. And those are the kind of guys we want. The guys young, hungry, willing to work hard, and not have any excuses, and just super respectful. So I'm excited about his future.
No doubt. That is very, very cool for you guys to get another young, hungry up-and-comer on the roster. And then you have Conor Barry, who I know very well. I've interviewed him half a dozen times. Tell me, what do you envision for Conor here moving forward?
Yes, we just got to get him busy. He came off that weird loss against Giannetti where it was he was winning the fight, and then he got caught in the triangle in the third round, and he was fine. But then, the ref stopped it, and it was kind of controversial. So it was a weird one. So you could argue, he's gone in there against UFC level talent and done well. And then his last fight, he just had a builder fight, came back and got an easy win. So now it's just we got to get him back in there, get him on a little bit of a win streak. And he's young, he's got really good jiu-jitsu. His striking's coming along. He's unorthodox. He's super talented, and the sky's the limit with him. He's almost like kind of doing it on his own. He's surrounding himself with some of the right people, and I think we could, fill in some of those missing pieces and really, kind of make him more of a complete fighter and really set him on the right path. Because I think he's kind of winging it right now, and he's so good for what he's doing. I think we could just make a few tweaks. He's got a good team around him, and just the direction of which way his career is going, and I think he could do big things.
Yeah, no, that's great. I really like Conor. He's a good dude and clearly a very talented fighter. So I was happy to see that you signed him, brought him on to TopGame. Now, before we get into Calvin in this big matchup with Ige and your travel, going to Fight Island, what that is all going to be like, I want to talk about last weekend, man. There's some interesting storylines. That co-main event fight in the featherweight division between Josh Emmett and Burgos. I mean, my God, one of the best fights I've seen in a very long time. What did you take away from that fight when comparing those guys to Calvin as a fighter? Did you just feel like they left too many openings and Calvin would capitalize, or were you impressed by both of their performances?
Yeah, I'm impressed with those guys. I mean, anybody who's willing to, step in the UFC cage in front of the world and put it all on the line, I respect those guys, obviously. We've been in there with Burgos. We show what we can do against a guy like him. He's a game guy. He's super tough, long, comes forward. You know what you're getting with him, and he's just a gamer. And then obviously Josh Emmett carries that power. I think, Josh, he put it to him in the third round. I thought the first 2 rounds were really close. We were watching passively because we were training Calvin. So we were all warming up and we kind of had it playing on the side. And, we didn't watch super in depth, but going into the third round, we thought Burgos was killing him, but then when you go back and watch, you can see why the judges gave the first round to Emmett. So it was kind of a toss up. I think, it could have gone either way or it could have been a draw. It was a really close fight. But yeah, I think one of the major takeaways from that is, people are going to be like, God damn, how hard does Calvin hit? Because you see what Emmett did to Burgos, and he, didn't go out, didn't finish him, and took a bunch of shots. And that's, he had just kind of finished saying all last week on Fight Week how he's the hardest hitting 45er in the division. Calvin's got to have that argument too, where he's putting these guys away that other guys aren't putting away. Jeremy Stevens with a headshot, Burgos with a headshot, and you see Emmett landed some really clean shots and wasn't able to put them away. So I think that was the big takeaway for a lot of people is, damn, how hard does Calvin hit? And then also the mental toughness of Josh Emmett to be able to destroy his knee and still come back and win a fight and get better as the fight goes on. So props to him. But then the last thing that you leave with is like, how does Burgos lose a very close fight to the number 8 guy when he's sitting at number 10 and then drop to number 14? It's just, The rankings are always confusing. I don't understand them. I think Burgos deserves more love than that. I don't think he should have moved at all in the rankings. Losing to Josh Emmett, who you're supposed to lose to if you go by what the rankings mean, 8 versus 10 you're supposed to lose, and then you lose in like decent fashion, a fight of the year candidate, very close first 2 rounds. And then third round, he got caught a couple times, but survived, showed his toughness. I think they did him dirty by moving him down that much. I think he should still be ranked number 10. He's a top 10 fighter.
Yeah, no doubt. That was a very close fight. And clearly, Josh Emmett, that's a guy that has been rumored to fight Calvin in the past. Now, he's going to be out for a while, clearly, with all those injuries. Do you feel like where he's at right now with that performance, does it keep him right in that discussion where a fight with Calvin maybe could happen at some point soon? Or has Calvin done enough now where he's kind of on a different playing field at 145 and Emmett has to get another win or two to even think of fighting Calvin?
Yeah, we don't try to think too far ahead. Who knows what the division is going to look like in a year when Emmett gets back and what kind of fight he's going to want. Maybe he wants like kind of a builder fight. Maybe, everybody would be booked when he comes back and to fight someone unranked. I don't know. I think Emmett has earned whatever he gets, and Calvin's going to go out there on the 15th and earn a top 5 fight. We got to go out there. We're fighting down in the rankings now. Ige's number 10. So we're fighting another top 10 guy. We're number 6. And we got to go out there and put on a performance, put a stamp on it, and let the world know that we're ready for those top 5 guys.
Yeah. Now, another topic here that I have to get your opinion on and your take on. I mean, a lot of controversy revolving around this. Max Rohskopf said 9 times after the second round to his corner that he's done, call the fight. Yeah, his cornerman, who's a well-respected BJJ practitioner, was just basically trying to encourage, his fighter to stay in the fight, to get back in there. Now there's all this fallout. There's people getting all over Drysdale saying, he didn't do what he was supposed to do. What is your takeaway from that? Because that's an interesting discussion to have. I mean, I see it from both sides. What did you feel like in your heart and in your head when you saw that go down?
Well, I think the thing that people aren't really talking about is the relationship between a coach and a fighter is so intimate, and there's so many levels to it. It's like you can peel back the layers of the onion, you're going to find new things. Like, it's a very deep relationship. And unless you're in it, you don't understand the dynamic of that relationship. It's like me trying to comment on your relationship and say, hey, man, you shouldn't do that to your fiance. That's wrong. It's like, well, I don't know your relationship. I don't know if you should be with her, you shouldn't be with her. And it's not even fair for me to comment. It's kind of to do the same thing between unless something super egregious, and maybe some people are saying this is, but, for all we know, that kid could be the type of kid that his whole wrestling career was quitting and saying, oh, I'm done, I'm tired. And then his coach is pushing through it, and then he gets a win. And then after, he thanks him for making him not be a bitch, I'm not saying he's a bitch, but you know what I'm saying? Like, and then, maybe in sparring, he's always trying to quit, and his coach talks him through, and he just needs a little motivation. Maybe they had the conversation before. It's like, listen, like, I know I might say I'm quitting, but if I ever say that, just keep me going. It just means I'm doubting myself. We don't know what type of confidence that kid has in himself or doesn't have, and how important the role is of the coach in his career to push him over those humps that he doesn't think he can get over. So it's tough. I don't really think it's fair for any other coaches that aren't in the know, any other fighters, any other media. I don't really think it's fair for us to pass judgment on how they handle that relationship, because we just don't know the full details. We don't know what's going on. And, I think they said after that he was tired and he had turf toe or something like that. Like, all right, so I don't know, maybe he's trying to get him to push through turf toe. Is that bad coaching? It's not like, it didn't seem like he was, loopy or anything like that. He was just tired and, but at the end of the day, like, if he had gotten off that stool and taken Hubbard down and stayed on top of him for that last round and wins a fight, his coach looks like a genius, So I think it's, a coach's job is to motivate and, but also understand that fine line when they're injured. Like, we don't know how injured he was. We don't know, we can speculate all we want, but if you're not in that seat, if you're not the guy taking that knee on national television in front of a fighter that better than anyone else watching does, I don't really think you should have an opinion to pass judgment on how they handle anything.
Mm-hmm. Now, Max took the fight on 5 days' notice. He's a big guy anyways. He had to cut a lot of weight to even make 155. Does it seem, just by looking at that second round in particular, that the kid just gassed out? I mean, he's 5-0, or he's 5-1 now. He was 5-0 going into that fight. Live to fight another day. That's kind of my take on it. Do you agree with that? And do you just feel like it was just kind of a gas tank issue?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch the second round super close because, like I said, we were warming up Calvin for training. So we didn't get to, like, really in-depth watch how hard the second round. It looked like he was getting tired in the second round and starting to kind of, like, get a little frustrated. But, sorry. He's getting frustrated, and he, so it was like, I thought it was 1-1 going into the third, and then, sometimes you just hit that point and you break, and it is what it is. Like, live to fight another day. I don't know. Like, it's tough for me to say when I'm not Drysdale and I'm not, Max. So I can't say exactly what happened in that situation, but I'd hope that if I was in a situation with one of my fighters and they made a comment and I questioned it, they'd have the respect for me and my fighter to understand that I know when to push them and when to pull back and, see the bigger picture and understand that, like, there's more to the story than what you're just hearing on TV.
Yeah, no, well said. Well, clearly it got a lot of attention. I mean, you're seeing all of the news sites. I mean, even ESPN really diving in and talking about it. So I'm sure that discussion will continue to happen moving forward. Now, let's talk about this fight. Calvin Kattar, Dan Ige, July 15th, Yas Island, Fight Island. I can't wait for it, man. I'm so excited to see what that all is going to look like. What do you guys have planned leading up to this fight, and when do you plan on flying out to Yas Island?
Your guess is as good as mine when we're flying out. We don't know. We hear rumors. I'm hearing that we have to be in Vegas on the 4th or the 5th. Well, we have to be in Vegas early enough to get tested on the 5th by 1 o'clock. So we have to be in Vegas by 1 o'clock on Sunday. So we might have to leave on the 4th to get there early enough. So we'll get tested. We'll stage in Vegas. The tests will clear. And then I guess we'll jump on a plane in Vegas with just other UFC fighters and staff and stuff like that, nonstop over to Abu Dhabi. And then when we land, we'll get tested there, and then we'll quarantine. I think it's like 24 or 48 hours in our hotel, and then we'll start our fight week. So that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing the city's pretty shut down, or the island's pretty shut down, and it'll just be us kind of hanging around, looking at beautiful things that we can't touch. So,
who's making the trip with you to Yas Island?
So same as last time. It's me, Rob Font, Carlos Neto is jiu-jitsu coach, and then we're bringing Jake Manini as Muay Thai coach.
Okay.
Because we're the main event, we get 4 corners, so the extra person will be Jake. So he plays a huge role in every camp, but usually you can only have 3, and that's the 3 we roll with. So now Jake will be making the trip over there with us too.
Hey, very cool. We obviously talked when you were with Rocco in Vegas and you had that extended stay. Is this going to be something kind of similar where it's going to be something you always remember, kind of like that brother bonding time where you're going to be able to look back on this 20 years from now and just, remember the good times, whatever happens inside the cage?
Yeah, I always talk to the guys. We're doing a lot of bucket list stuff right now. Like at the end of our careers when we're old and talking to our grandkids or you know, our kids are older and we're talking to them about when they were little kids, and you know, we talk about these careers. Like, it's not going to be the wins and the losses. It's going to be those inside jokes in the hotel rooms. It's going to be the time that, you know, Tony had to hold my hand coming down a mountain because I thought I was going to fall, or, you know, it's those things that we're going to remember. You know, these things that, you know, these memories that you're creating on this journey that we're on, that you take away, and that's what, you know, makes us all brothers. That's what we're going through this together. It's not just what people see on TV or on the mats. It's all the stuff off the mats that really creates the synergy and creates like a real team environment. And those are the things. Yeah. I mean, we just went to Jacksonville during a pandemic. We're the first sport to jump back in, and you know, we did that. You know, we're on that first card of the UFC 249, and now we're crazy enough to be, you know, the first wave of fighters going out to Abu Dhabi during a pandemic to fight on a private island. You know, we have a pretty cool book to write down the road, you know, and you know, we go out and get this win, and you know, we're headlining a fight on Fight Island. Like, we didn't even know we were going to be fighting in the island, and now we're headlining a card. It's like, you know, we keep hitting these checkpoints, and it's just real cool to see how far these guys are coming, how successful they're being, and we have this plan, and we just keep moving along and progressing, and it's cool to see their lives changing. They're making more money, they're getting more popular. You know, UFC is going to be in my house tomorrow filming us, you know, working out and doing interviews and stuff. Like, so it's just like things like that. It's like, it's, you know, stuff that when we first started watching, you know, UFC on TV, you're like, oh, wow, that's cool. And now we're doing it, and it's just, that's what we do now, you know? So we just keep, you know, we always say, like, as we climb these stairs, more stairs show up at the top. So we're never going to get to the top, because even when we get to this high, if you think you can go, we're going to want more. So we just got to keep plugging away, make these memories, enjoy the journey, because it's not necessarily about the destination. This whole journey is just, you know, our life. Like, we're living it right now. We're making these memories, and, you know, years down the road, we're going to be talking about those inside jokes from the hotels and the flights and all that.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Tyson, but isn't the octagon going to be on sand? It's like going to be on the beach here for these fights?
I don't know, man. I can't imagine how they could do that, just because you get sand. But I heard it's inside, so I don't know. Like, I heard that there's they do have an octagon on the sand, is what I heard. But that's probably more for PR stuff. I can't imagine we're fighting outside unless they're gonna. I don't know, man. It's all speculation. It doesn't matter. We always say we're gonna go somewhere. The cage is gonna have 8 sides. There's gonna be some cameras, and we're gonna get in a fist fight. That's all we can control.
Let's talk about that fist fight. I was a little surprised when I saw Kattar matched up with Ige. I feel like Kattar's a very heavy favorite here, and he should go in there and get the job done. Stylistically, tell me a little bit about this matchup.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's a lot of people that would be too scared to take this fight, because they're going to say, oh, there's no upside. It's all downside. You're taking a huge risk. But, you know, that's what the cartel is all about. Like, we'll always double down on ourselves, and we'll do what, you know, we're here to fight. We're not here to wait. You know, we get paid to fight. And we're trying to chase a belt, and you don't get that by sitting around waiting and hoping someone gets injured and you can replace them on last minute. You know, you go out there by making statements in big moments. And the UFC called. They said, hey, you could be a main event. It's you know, against the number 11 guy, Dan Ige. Now he's number 10. You know, it's a big moment. You know, and you earn more big moments by performing under the bright lights. And these are the brightest lights there can be. It's a main event on Fight Island. We go out there and we perform how we should perform. It's going to open up another door to another big moment. So, you know, we had 2 choices. We could sit around and wait and hope, or we could, you know, manifest destiny. We just take the bull by the horns and go and create our own opportunities. And that's what we're going to do.
You know, there's been a lot of fighters, a lot of high-profile fighters for that matter, really getting after Dana White and the UFC, complaining about fighter pay. Kattar's star keeps rising. Another main event against a tough guy in Ige. Can you disclose, like, is he starting to get closer to that, you know, big-time level as far as fighter pay, like, as he continues to rise?
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't think we're allowed to disclose numbers. It'll be public after we fight, I'm sure, but I don't know of any other 45ers that are good unless you fought for a title or have been a champion. I think we're the highest paid 45er in the division now. So, you know, I always say scared money don't make money. We're willing to take these risks, and we're getting rewarded for it. So Calvin's, you know, he's making money that if we perform, it can change his life for the better. And now we just have to go out and perform. You know, he earned this. Everything he's getting, he's earned. You know, he's taking the hard road. You we wanted to try to negotiate a new contract before our fourth fight. They wanted to see how we did. We knocked out Burgos, and we knocked out Fishgold, and then we come back on this contract. You look at Calvin's last contract. We knocked out Ricardo Lamas, lost the main event to beat in Russia in a 3-round fight, so it was a little bit of drama there. And then we come back and knock out Jeremy Stevens in an 18-week camp, and we go into that fight with an injury that wasn't disclosed, and we worked around it. We did whatever it took, and freaking go and knock him out, and with a headshot, which has only ever been done once in his career. So Calvin earned the new contract. He earned a main event spot, and we get a really small circle around us of people that we trust, and this is a plan that we all put in place together, and we keep executing on it. And it seems like the further along we get, the more people want to talk shit about every move we make and say, oh, this is stupid, you shouldn't do that. It's like, listen, like, if we listened to you, we wouldn't be where we're at now. Like, we're gonna go all in, bet on ourselves. We're gonna go make history and just keep climbing this ladder. Like, Calvin puts these chips on his shoulder and just keeps knocking them down. So I don't think this is any different. He's getting good money for this fight, in a new contract, and it's he wants big moment opportunities, like he says, and this is his chance to go out and put his money where his mouth is and show the world that he is a top 5 headliner.
How do you envision this fight ending, Tyson?
Calvin's hand raised. I think, Dan Ige is a tough kid. He's got those intangible things that no coach can teach. He's, a blue collar guy. He's going to, bring his lunchbox to work every day. He's going to put his head down and he's going to work. Like, he's going to get in your face. He's going to throw heat. He's got, decent wrestling and okay cardio, and he's just going to keep coming. He's not going to be scared of Calvin. He's coming off a big win against Barboza, but at the end of the day, you can flip that. Like, he's coming off 2 split decision wins where both were pretty controversial. So you could say he's lost 2 in a row. And everybody he struggled with, if you look at his career, he's really struggled with guys that have decent takedown defense and have good hands and good footwork. That's Calvin in a nutshell. Calvin's probably got the best hands in the division. And Emmett might argue with this, but you could say he's the most powerful fighter in the division. He's got the most knockouts since he's been in the UFC in the featherweight division. And he's finishing veterans. Ige's going out there. Yeah, he got that win against Barboza. But other than that, like, he's beating guys he should beat, to earn him to the top 10. Calvin's beating legends. He's beating guys that fought for titles or guys that have been in, eliminator fights or guys that are, got 30 fights in the UFC. Calvin's knocking out guys that have been there with the cream of the crop. And, and Ige hasn't loved, his best win is Barboza. And that was Barboza's first time at 45, and it was questionable that he even won. And that's no shade at Ige, because he's a tough kid and we're taking this fight very serious. But I think if you just look at from an experience standpoint, from a power standpoint, from a level of competition standpoint, like, we have all the advantages going into this fight. Now we just got to do it. Easier said than done. A fight's a fight. Ige's a tough kid. He's the type of kid that will get in your face and make a fight dirty and hope to squeak it out. But I just feel like we have every advantage in this fight, and Calvin just has to perform.
Tyson, as always, my man, I appreciate the time. If you'd like to plug your social media or anyone you want to thank, the floor is yours.
Yeah, no, I just thank you guys for keeping doing what you're doing, and you interview these guys when they're young, and they'll keep growing with you. And we appreciate you guys, taking the time to talk to fighters, share their stories, and then if you check out on I think Facebook and Twitter, and I'll share it on Instagram. But me, Rob, and Calvin, they started selling the New England Cartel merchandise. So if you want to support the team, all the stuff we make off of that just goes towards the a slush fund for travel for these guys to do training trips and stuff like that. So support the New England Cartel. It's a good group of guys, and then just keep following us on social media. I think my Instagram's like Tyson_Chartier, and then I'll keep everybody updated on what we're doing.